My name is Morgan Thomas. I'm a fall 2023 Shearing Fellow at the Black Mountain Institute and the author of a short story collection titled Manywhere. Yeah, I think I write about forests and wetlands and mountains because those are the places where I spend a lot of my time. They're the places that I spent a lot of time as a kid, and I still spend many hours walking and hiking in outdoor spaces. And I think that probably has to do with various axes of identity. I'm a queer, genderqueer person, and I grew up in a rural, conservative southern town into a conservative family that was also science-minded. And so my first queer stories were also animal stories. And then I think also the genderqueer person, in a forest, I'm able to be truly genderless, I think, in a way that I'm not able to be when I'm in human society or around other people. I'm surrounded in a forest by plants with sexes so complicated that it requires whole phrases in the English language to describe them. I think there's something really comforting to me about that. I am currently reading nonfiction mostly by Jim Al-Khalili, a book on quantum biology, and a book on time by Carlo Rovelli. And then in fiction, I am rereading a few essays by Sabrina Imbler, which have been really lovely. And I'm also really fortunate to be reading an early arc of Justin Torres's Blackouts, which I'm enjoying so far. I think there are a few things. I appreciate short stories because I am really interested in compression and just continue. Every short story feels to me like a sort of miracle. It's a miracle, I think, that a writer can compress a life into 5,000 words, or can say something meaningful, can capture a meaningful shift in that sort of compressed form. And so I think that's one thing that draws me to the short story form. In addition, I really like the sharpness of prose that I'm able to get when I write in that shorter format. And then I think last, for Manywhere specifically, I was really interested in capturing the experiences of queer and genderqueer Southerners across a period of centuries. And I knew that for a project like that, a short story collection is a perfect form because each story is able to work as sort of like the face of a gemstone, and then all the stories together offer these various perspectives on this one sort of singular, varying, but still cohesive experience. And so I think a short story is a really good way to approach that specific type of project. I think basically a short story I'm able to write in a sort of hyper-focused period of a few days where I'm really excited about a topic and I live in it and I write it, and then I have something and it's rough, but it's there and it's whole, and then I can sort of set it aside and go about and write other things or think about other things and then return to it. A novel is, when I have tried to do that with a novel, to stay in this sort of hyper-focused space and write all the way through, I've ended up getting burnt out before I finish it. And so I've realized that I need to be more gentle in my process as I write a novel. It takes a longer period of time, and I need to, just to let myself open the project, write a bit, and then leave it and return to it. And that gentleness is something that I think I'm still finding. Yeah, I think for me, it's just not actually forcing myself to continue a project if it's not feeling exciting to me at the moment. And so I think, with a novel, when I first started writing novels, I think I felt afraid that if I had written, say, 12,000 words and then I walked away and worked on something else for a month and came back to it, that I wouldn't be able to capture that initial urgency or tone or voice or something else. And I think that can be true for me in short stories, but in the novel, I had to learn to trust that those words that I could re-enter them at a later point, and just allow myself to walk away when I was feeling burnt out on that project, and then to return to it when it was feeling exciting again. So the class is called Writing Queer and Trans Ecologies, a fiction workshop. I think it's actually just a workshop because fiction or nonfiction are both great. And we'll be reading a few of the writers that I mentioned earlier, Sabrina Imbler, Tommy Pico, Zain Jukadar, and many other writers who I think are, again, like innovating within sort of inherited structures to better tell queer and trans stories through a lens that I see as ecological. And it's important to note that I'm defining ecological here more broadly than I think it's sometimes defined in like sort of strict ecological academic spaces where it can't include the human without a modifier. I'm including the human in my definition of ecology. And so I think when I talk about like ecological forms or approaches, I'm thinking about approaches that decenter an individual and instead focus on those relationships between animals, human and non-human, and their environments. And so a few of the questions that I have when I start to write about these things are questions like, can we call animals queer? What does it mean to call an animal queer in our writing? Is that liberating? Is it limiting? Is it both things at the same time? And like, how are these writers navigating that? Also, like when we think about writing about animals, what pronouns are we using and why, and how can we make that a deliberate choice? And so we're gonna read these writers and think about the ways that they answer those questions and many, many other questions about just how to write into experiences of being queer and trans and like thinking about all of that through an ecological lens.